Good day to everybody. This is Rob Mazak. I am a psychic medium, and if you've listened to my podcasts before at all, you'll know that I don't script anything. I just like to talk from the heart, take an ideas, and see where it leads us. And so let's go ahead and see where this train goes. Tonight I wanted to talk about, or at least start the podcast with talking about time. And specifically, I wanted to kind of look at the present primarily, but the past and the future. And then we'll see what other things might join us on this ride. I was listening to a video the other day by a channeler who channels somebody by the name of Bashar. Some of you have heard of that man. Very interesting, whether he actually is channeling or it's coming from his subconscious or however that works for him. He comes through with some of the most amazing answers and very, very quick. And it's not like there's any delay in the answers, like, let me think about it. It just comes right on through. So however you look at it, doesn't really matter. I guess the information and the things that he brings forth are really cool. And he brought forth something the other day when he was talking to someone, or they had asked a question about the Mandela effect. And if you don't know what that is, the idea is that over time, the past seems to change. I don't know how to describe it. But it's like you remember something or some things happening in a certain way, a Disney show or a character or something of the sort, and then all of a sudden it is different. And when you look back at the history of it, really go back into it and look at the original description or broadcast of those things, it is different. And so it's kind of like looking at things just simply changing and evolving over time. And I've had those experiences myself where it's just like things that I think I remember correctly, I don't, or they're different than what I remember. And you can explain that away in a lot of ways, because I've described some of those things to my wife, for example. And she'll tell me, I don't know what you're talking about, because that's been like that for as long as I can remember. So is it that our memory changes, or is it some other phenomenon? I don't know, right? But Bashar answered this woman's question, which she had asked about why her memories of the past seem to be changing, and they seem to be different from what she always has remembered. And he said something that was really, really interesting, and it's just stuck with me ever since I've heard it. He said something to the effect that the reason that the past changes is because you as a person are changing your present moment to create a new future, and that that past actually will have to change to reflect your new path. And it sounds like a very simple and basic answer, but I mean, there's a lot there, and it just really struck me very strong that how could that work? But if you think about it this way, for example, looking at time being linear, meaning moving from the past to the future and not going backwards or into other timelines, sideways, whatever you want to say, is that everything is moving forward, sort of like the old Big Bang Theory, where everything is started at one place and it's moving forward, and that's the only thing we can experience. And that is normally what we experience. I'm not saying that that's not accurate. However, if you are, say, a movie creator, and you've created a movie, and there's a process in the movie and the way the story goes and the way it unfolds, and you eventually want to do a remake, or you want to change it, or somebody's going to do a remake, which they do a lot of these days, right? In order to change how the movie unfolds, you usually have to go back to the beginning or earlier in the movie or in the past and change that to reflect a new direction. In other words, whatever path you're on, whatever timeline you're on, whatever experiences you are on, the past, the present, and the future need to align. And at face value, it sounds really very, very simple, but of course it's not. Now, time is something that is really a very interesting thing. It is definitely something that we all have in common. Every one of us have 24 hours a day, which is, by some people's definition, something that we made up as humans. That is not actually 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter. That's what we experience. That's what our minds are used to. That's what we're programmed to. And so that's what we live to that standard. And I think that after listening to Bashar's definition of that, and the fact that my experience will tell me, and all the things I've read and all the things I've heard, is that the only time, quote unquote, that we actually have is the present moment. The time that we have right now. Each moment that I make or I experience is the only thing that actually exists. Because if you think about it, where did the past go? I don't know, right? I mean, the past is not here anymore. 5 seconds ago when I made that statement, that is gone. Other than the fact that it's on this recording, it's the only way we really know that happened in the past, and we have records and things. But I think you understand what I'm saying experientially, at least, that the past is really simply disappears, and the future is never really here. As the old saying goes, once you've reached the future, it is no longer the future, it is the now, it's the present. So the only thing we really have is now. And that really becomes a very, very fine balance in how we live our life. Because we have 7,500 years-ish, something like that, which I've said before many times is not a very long time. Just a whisper, a mention in the enormity of the time that the universe, as we've been told it is, exists in, then it's really not much time at all. And if we expend all of our chances and all of our energy and all of our money too early, and we happen to live to be 120, then we're going to live maybe the rest of our life poor and broke and all, out of order. But at the same time, we can't save everything for the future, because the future might not get here, and then we don't get to experience enough life. So life is a really interesting balance. But I think life really is what we make it. In the grand scheme of things, in all the research now that's available, the theories and the ideas through quantum physics and mechanics and all that, is very evident, at least in the simplest forms of experiments, and sometimes the grand experiments like CERN, that the huge collider and all that stuff that they're really digging in, is that we really do create our life as we go. And it's hard to imagine that we choose to have some of the horrible experiences that we have in our life. Some people just seem to have the worst lives, and others seem to have the best lives. And so what's the real difference? Are those people simply better at living their present moment than others? Are they actually satisfied and happy in their present moment, which gives rise to a much better past or a much better future? I believe that's true. And it is really hard to understand that we're living moment to moment, which we really are, in my opinion. Just my opinion, not proof. I mean, it's almost as simple as me leaving my RV park every morning in the dark, and the lights on the roads on my way out light up as I pass underneath them. It's like it's lighting my present spot enough that I can see what I'm doing, but not enough to see entirely where I'm going or where I've been. We have grown up with this amazing or indoctrinated idea that we're going from A to B, and then once we get to B, eventually there won't be anything left. I don't know about you, but I want to be able to live each moment as best I can, experience as much as I can, and really take stock in what is going on around me at each moment. I can tell you that the universe or God or angels or whatever you believe is the external force to us, which I believe most of us would agree there is. I believe that that force is actually something that communicates with us all the time from the outside, looking in above at a much better view than we have, and steering us as best they can without completely interfering or directly changing our path. And I think that is actually what's going on. And if you learn to pay attention to those present moments and things that are happening around you, signs and symbols and repeating patterns, you'll begin to notice and believe and utilize all of these signs because they are there for us. And if you look at the grand scheme of things in the reincarnation model, if that's true, I do believe it is, based on what my services are and what I do for people with regressions and hypnosis, it's just too much evidence for me, at least. It is plainly obvious that, to me, that we come here with a very specific purpose or goals or ideas of what we want to experience. And the sad part, or the hard part, is we don't get to remember where we come from, the spiritual realm or whatever that is out there, where we're just simply energy. It's where time is not relevant. It's like the past, the present, and the future all happen at the same time. In some of my in some of my meditation journeys, I have found myself in these places. And it is very, very difficult to describe what it's like to be outside of time, to not be bound by time or human emotions or any of those things. And many of my clients that I do regressions for or hypnosis for also talk about that. Now, I don't know that it's completely a wonderful place. It is much different than what we experience here because we're so used to time, to being, at work at a certain time, to go to lunch at a certain time, to pick up the kids, you got to take them to soccer at a certain time. Everything is based on that ticking clock. And it's very difficult for us as human beings in our current mode or model to really grasp what it's like to be without time. It is a little bit strange, if you're trying to put it into human words. What I remember on some of those journeys of mine is that it's like you're simply just being. There's not any real emotions. You're aware of yourself. You're aware that you exist. But there's no anger or sadness or any of those emotions. And there simply is no linear time or no place that you can move to that's different from where you're at. And it's like existing just to exist, I guess. And I think in a lot of ways that's why we come to incarnate in a human body or a body of any sort. Because obviously there's animals and there's other beings across this universe if it's what they say it is. I believe that there are other species and other things out there. But a spirit in that particular realm, I guess you'd say, doesn't have any idea what it's like to feel a sunset, the sun warming their skin, or what it looks like, or what it feels like to be in love, or what it feels like at all. And so I believe that as a spirit, we come here and to probably other places to experience what it's like to be bound by time, to know and have feelings, to learn what it's like to be mad or sad or happy or being pain or any of that thing, or any of those things rather. It is a very interesting way of looking at things. And if you want to look at time even a little bit more, there's a lot of evidence out there in the quantum world that would suggest that there are a lot of parallel universes or realities around us that are simply tuned to a different frequency. In other words, as we move along in our life, I make a decision, or you make a decision of some sort, which fractures off a new timeline. And so your future changes based on decisions, moment to moment, like we talked about. Let's look at it in linear time. Let's say I came in on born, right, and I make all these decisions in life, and every time I make a decision or have a thought, there's a new timeline. Can you imagine the immense complexity of timelines that would exist simply because of me? And if you look at around the planet, right, there's 8.5, 9 billion people, something like that, and about 190 billion people or so, depending on what book you read or what scientists you agree with, have existed on this planet at one time or another. Man, I tell you what, that just seems to contribute to the far complexity of this reality that we have. That would also suggest, though, that if we are on a path that does not make sense, or it's not working out based on decisions that we've made in the past, why can't we simply go back over to another timeline? Why can't we reconnect with another version of ourselves and actually become something different, or something that we would like to be, or have experiences that we would like to have? In many religious texts, if you believe in the creation model, or that there's a creator, that everything that could be created exists now. Everything that could exist exists now. So why are we limiting ourselves so much? Why are we allowing ourselves to simply go through our day and just make the same old decisions every day without trying something new? I mean, why not fracture some more timelines and see what happens? I mean, if we're simply going to be coming back over and over again anyway, or existing in some way, shape, or form for all eternity, what's the hurry? Why not try something new? And I know I can't prove that, guys. I get it. I'm just talking from my heart and the way I believe and what I believe. Doesn't mean it's true. It'd be really, really cool if it is, right? I mean, I hope that when we leave this place, my hope and your hope and everybody's hope is that all the memories of everything we've ever done and ever been do come back, that we don't lose this experience consciously in some way, right? That would be really sad, if you ask me, if we completely forget everything we've done here. That would not be fun. But back to timelines. All right, so timelines are a very interesting thing. There's a guy that I can't think of his name that's I've seen all over the internet that claims that he does the kind of timeline jumping thing, like a quantum leap, I think he calls it. There was a movie about that long ago when I was a kid. Of course, they hide everything in plain sight, don't they? But he talks about the fact that when he wants to learn something new, for example, I think he used one example of learning to play the piano. Well, he simply, whatever method he used, he simply connected with another version of him on a different timeline, a different reality of himself that already knows how to play the piano, and was able to bring that back into this timeline, or join that timeline, or rejoin that timeline. I'm not sure how that works, but it sounds really possible, if you ask me, that we could tap into anything in this universe that we wanted. And I will tell you that all the meditation journeys that I've had where I've been taken in to many places and seen many things and experienced the smallest of the universe and the largest of the largest, and without proof, of course. But if any of that stuff is even marginally true, the complexity and amazing experience and knowledge and depository of information and experiences that are out there in this reality is just immense and really undescribable. Because when I've seen the smallest of the particles that exist in this known universe as we know it, and as they have shown me, every single smallest particle is part of the eternity of everything. And the beautiful part is that even the smallest particle, you can drill down into eventually the smallest particle in that. So there's really no end to where you can go in this universe and what you can do. It's just our limitation of our belief system that we've been indoctrinated into and taught in this particular world we live in now. Unfortunately, we are all beginning to kind of wake up. There's a lot of terms for that these days. But to be politically correct, I would say that we are consciously becoming more aware of what else is out there besides what we've been taught. And it is becoming really amazing. Some people really have a lot of struggle with it and they don't understand it, and I get it. I mean, I not struggled, but it was quite amazing when I learned to meditate many years ago and started seeing some of the, I guess, quote unquote craziest things. They're not crazy to me now, but it was kind of hard to grasp. And now it's just, I've reached a point where I would just accept what I see and what I've been given, and very grateful and thankful that the universe or the outside force is willing to give me those experiences and allow me to connect. It is really cool. So why aren't we all just the most amazing people on this planet? Well, there could be a lot of reasons. I believe that we can choose our destiny and where we want to go and fracture timelines and make changes and do different things. But I think we get in our own way. It is very easy to become comfortable in our uncomfortableness, in our comfort zone of the programming that we've all been indoctrinated with. Our subconscious mind just kind of runs our life. And perhaps the subconscious programming is also, maybe it's being controlled by forces that we don't even know. I'm not saying that the world as we know it is actually the world, the actual world. I mean, we could simply be in some kind of video game or some kind of artificial simulation, or I don't know, it could be all kind of things. But the thing is that we do allow our minds to be programmed. As humans, we are the easiest beings, I think, on the planet to be programmed. It's not difficult at all. Especially in our older times, in order to survive, you had to actually go along with the program, or you'd be banished out on your own and get eaten by the wolves or the tigers or whatever. Nowadays, it's not necessarily that way, but we are still carrying the same program, perhaps through our genealogy, through our DNA, I don't know. But I encourage you guys to really think about that. Pay attention to what you are being given every moment of your day, because you really are. I'm not saying everything that you see is a sign. Not every time you see a blue bird, you got to go look up what's the spiritual meaning of a blue bird. I think you understand that what I'm trying to say is that you are being given the breadcrumbs that you need to encourage you to change your timeline, to change where you're going, to actually do something different with your life and take the challenge, maybe take a less paying job, to have different experiences. Safe jobs are just not the thing anymore. I mean, there really isn't a safe job. So if you think you're going to take a safe job just to to hang on to the norm, you might be sadly disappointed. It is that easy to, these days at least, to find yourself without a paying job. Why aren't we doing the things that we want to do, that thrill us to no end, that excite us, and we still get paid for it? Now, don't get me wrong, we can't all be high-end basketball players or sports figures or astronauts, and not that those are impossible, but not everybody wants those things. Your idea of what a interesting life would be, what you would love to be paid to do because you love to do it, is way different than anybody else's, and it should be, because we're all unique. Every one of us is completely different. There'll never be another Rob Mazak. There'll never be another you. They will never be anybody that is exactly like you. Yes, maybe there are some that are pretty doggone close, but no one will ever be like you in this reality as we know it. Why aren't we taking chances? We're all going to die someday anyway. I'm not saying we need to go be careless. That would be silly, right? Because then you don't get to have all the experiences that you want. But I do think we got to get out of our comfort zone, whatever that is for you. Behind this mic, here I am talking, and it probably sounds like I'm fairly good at it. At least I hope I am. But there have been times in my life where I would not ever dream of speaking to anybody, to any audience, in any way, shape, or form. Yet here I am doing it. You just have to chase that dream and figure out what it is that excites you. And for me, it's being behind this mic and sharing experiences and talking about my thoughts. Hopefully to help others understand things a little different, learn from my experiences of my clients, whatever. That's what I like to do. There's other things, but this is the most prevalent because I'm talking to you now, right? But everybody has something within them that they really want to do. And what holds us back? It's really just the programming and what's happening between our ears, our minds, and what society thinks we should be. We're here to run our own race. I say this all the time. We're not here to run anybody else's. So why are we worried about what people think? Why are we worried about how they feel? It doesn't really matter. It really, really doesn't matter, people, what other people think and how they feel. It only comes down to how you feel and how you think about yourself. Let's all take that challenge. Let's all try something new tomorrow, and then the next tomorrow, and the next tomorrow, assuming we have that tomorrow. Do it today. Why not? Even if it's just simply going to work a different way. Why do we got to do the same exact thing every day? Why can't we take a different turn, take a different highway? Why not, right? Leave a little bit early, explore a little bit. I don't know. I think you get my point, is if we can start fracturing timelines and creating a new present moment that will eventually recreate our past and eventually and purposely change our future or where we're headed, why aren't we doing that? Let's all get on our horse and let's ride it. Let's move forward into a different paradigm, a different dynamic, a different future, and just experiment with it and see how it works. Try making some changes and see what the grand scheme of things is and how things unfold. And you will be ultimately surprised, I would say. You will be very, very surprised at how quickly you can change your life. And we all know that we can change our life for the bad really, really quickly. That is not hard at all. So if we can think ourselves into being sick, think ourselves into being poor, think ourselves into losing our job, think ourselves into having a bad relationship, why can't we think our way into a different future? Think our way into being happy. Think our way into having wonderful relationships. Think our way into having perfect health. If you really want to dig down into the science, pull up Joe Dispenza, go to his website, and you will see there is science that backs all this up. This can be measured and it has been measured. I will get off of my soapbox. I just want you guys to understand that you can change your life. I challenge you, I challenge you, I challenge you to change your life. Change your present moment and watch the miracles happen. I do have a website with a contact page. I encourage you guys to go there. Look me up, reach out to me. Let's talk about some of these things. I learn from you, you learn from me, we all learn. We create a better humanity, a better world, and we can hopefully walk side by side and encourage each other and bring forth much better things into this world as we know it. That website is lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com, and I look forward to hearing from you, look forward to working with you. You will hear from me many, many more times. Stay strong and live your life.